What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. Um, we're in the home stretch to SummerSlam. One of the big matches on this show is going to be Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed teaming against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. The closing angle in the go home show going into SummerSlam is Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed absolutely just laying to waste our tribal chief and Jey Uso, the Yeet Man, in a way that felt like, I'm not going to say it was a full passing of the torch, but this felt like a moment in time that when we look back in like a decade or so, we're going to be saying to ourselves, like, you think about like the moments of like, where were you when John Cena did the ruthless aggression thing and came out and confronted Kurt Angle? Where were you when Roman Reigns officially became the tribal chief and he was sitting next to Paul Heyman? Granted, that was COVID. That's not the greatest example in the world. But where were you when John Cena turned heel? Where were you when Hulk Hogan turned heel? Like there's so many moments in wrestling where you're going to be like, okay, where were you the moment where Bron Breakker cracked down the next barrier in his career? Because this is how you make a star, ladies and gentlemen. This guy has already just oozed superstar potential for years. We saw it percolating in NXT for so long. We saw him in the last year as an Intercontinental Champion and, just being this hotshot young rising star. And he's become a made man. And in a span of a couple of weeks now, just by merely associating himself in a feud with Jey Uso and more specifically Roman Reigns, Bron Breakker is the guy. Let's get real. Bron Breakker is the guy. And I've known this for a while. I've actually talked to some people about this, that there has been a feeling in WWE for the longest time. And people are wondering, man, why didn't they even try to maybe give him the Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar youngest champion or youngest world champion record? There's no need to rush it. Because this guy, if you handle him with care and get him to the right people, and now he's in the hands of Paul Heyman, and now he's associated with Seth Rollins, and, we'll see what happens when Seth does come back to television. You knew that something special was going to happen. And what they did on Monday Night Raw in bringing this thing to a close on what was a pretty bland and ordinary night of Monday Night Raw from Detroit. It was a pretty bland and ordinary. But to have Bron Breakker go over Roman Reigns in the fashion that he did, which does not happen very often, that tells you what WWE thinks of this kid. Like, this guy is different. And we've seen it. We've seen it in NXT. We've seen how special of an athlete he is. And I've been saying this for as long as I've been watching him on television. This guy has the athletic ability and, look of his father, Rick Steiner. And then he's obviously got the athletic ability and the ability to talk of his uncle, Scott Steiner. And here you are. He's got the dogs barking every single week. He's got what the kids call aura. And he's got maybe the best spear known to man and runs the rope 23 miles an hour. But the way that they put him over to close this show was it was unbelievable. This is how you make stars. This is how you build young talent and put them in positions to be successful. Now, the question becomes, do they stop here and do they let the baby faces win at the pay-per-view, at the premium live event, SummerSlam? Conventional wisdom would tell you, yes, they will. I don't know if that's the right decision because people are saying, well, you can't have Roman Reigns lose again. He's taken a lot of L's lately. Roman Reigns is going away to film a movie. He's literally coming back from this match and he's going to go away again. You might as well use the rub and the aura and just the mystique of the tribal chief to get over your next guy. So why stop at this? And Bronson Reed is going to be okay too. But Bronson Reed is definitely behind Bron Breakker because Bronson Reed's older And Bron Breakker is just a different specimen of a human being. I look in the same fashion of Bron Breakker, the way that I looked at Brock Lesnar back in 2002. A physically gifted genetic freak of a human being that it does things that a man his size should not be able to do. The Frankensteiner off the ropes, the way that he runs the ropes, the way that he just runs through people on his spears. Like it's, and then just the simple thing is just replicating. He replicated a Steiner math promo at the WrestleMania kickoff show in Vegas a couple months ago. And then he replicates Roman Reigns, his whole, this is my camera, this is my WWE off microphone during the whole beatdown segment where him and Bronson Reed, beat down Roman and Jey Uso, and then they stole Roman's Jordans, which was certainly an interesting choice. And I don't know if that was actually a planned thing or if they just did that to get heat. Either way, it was great. But Bron Breakker is the guy, ladies and gentlemen. And if you haven't gotten on the train and you haven't bought stock in this guy, you better do it quickly, because at some point in the next year or two, this guy's going to be a world champion. This guy's going to have a crowning moment on some big stage. And it could happen as soon as SummerSlam on Saturday, because to me, if you're going to really solidify this guy as the next big thing, and they said that in promos that ultimately brought Roman back, if you're going to solidify this guy as the next big thing in WWE, you have got to make a statement. Brock Lesnar, 2002, statement, literally just getting into WWE, wins the WWE champion. It was the youngest champion for a couple years before Randy Orton beat that record. Bron Breakker, I understand, is older than those two guys, and he's not going to break a championship record. But just merely getting a pinfall win and just obliterating Roman Reigns would do a boatload of stuff for that guy's career. Him pinning Jey Uso does not mean anything. He's done it before. He's pinned Jey Uso to win the Intercontinental title. He's done that before. And Jey Uso, frankly, needs to, be protected at least somewhat, because he's going to be around and he's probably going to reunite with his brother. So you got to kind of be careful with that. The scenario that keeps staying in my mind is that Bronson Reed's going to end up eating a pinfall at SummerSlam, which to me is fine. And especially if this is going to close the show, like, you want to send the fans home happy. But to me, with what they did tonight, they've got to go against conventional wrestling booking and, having the heels go over on the go home show. To me, you have got to continue to strike while the iron is hot with Bron Breakker, because this guy is a potential future legend if you handle him the right way. And what they did for him was incredible in the closing moments of this show. And to be honest with you, I can't wait to see this tag match. It has nothing on the line. Seth Rollins ain't even there. But to me, what you did tonight is told me, hey, Bron Breakker, if you weren't taking him seriously now, you should take him seriously moving forward. So that's really my big picture thought on that. We'll see if they do the right thing in my eyes at SummerSlam. But to me, I kind of get the vibe that they're going to play it safe and they're going to do what they always do. And they're going to have Roman and Jey go over and win the match there. Just don't have Braun eat a pin if you're going to go that decision. I just don't think that's the right call. I think you've got to, solidify and have the dogs barking at the end of that match at SummerSlam. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. We'll have a lot of coverage here on the channel for SummerSlam this week. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.